Now I want to talk about the external and operational features for the Taurus 709 PT709 Slim 9mm single stack handgun. So you can see it right here, and we'll just go ahead and cover a few things first as far as the markings on it. As you can see here, it's got the serial number engraved on the edge of the barrel in this area right here. It's got the serial number engraved on the slide itself, and when you flip it over, I don't know if you can tell right here, it's also got the serial number engraved on the frame. Now the handgun is marked here as 709 Slim 9mm right there, and it's Taurus International Manufacturing, Miami, Florida, USA. And just real quick, it states 9mm right there, and so there's no plus P markings here. So as far as the what type of ammunition you can actually shoot in this handgun, when I went over there and I referred to the table here in the instruction manuals, and I'm just gonna point this out here real quick. It starts talking about the warning for plus P ammunition, and a couple of things here. Number one is that you should always read your instruction manual on firearms and other things in life. Maybe I'm an engineer and I have issues, but you should always read that. Anyway, so especially when you're looking at your ammunition. So what it states here for this particular handgun is that the only fire SAMI rated plus P ammunition in Taurus models designated by Taurus for plus P use as below. Okay, so as below, when I go down here, it basically says all firearms chambered in 9mm Luger. Okay, so from this right here, it basically says that this handgun is capable of shooting plus P ammunition. Now they give you a warning though, and I'll just go ahead and point this out. Even if your Taurus firearm is rated for plus P ammunition, such ammunition generates pressure significantly in excess of the pressures associated with the standard ammunition. Such pressures may affect the useful life of your firearm or exceed the margin of safety built into any firearms. Unless you need plus P ammunition, do not use it, particularly for practice. Anyway, I think that's really a good recommendation for that. And again, there's lots of people who are going to have different opinions about what type of ammunition to use in a particular handgun for self-defense. There's a lot of good ammunition that's out there. For me, I'm a big fan of the Hornady Critical Defense ammunition right here, and most likely that's what I'm going to carry in it. And these particular ones are 115 grain FTX, and they look like this right here. Now, when you flip it over to the other side of the pistol, you're going to see that you've got the Taurus logo up there, and made in Brazil. And on the grip also, you've got the Taurus name and logo down here. That was also the same on the other side. Let's see here. As far as markings go, I think that covers at the bottom of the magazine. It's got the Taurus name and logo, and also PT709 on the end of the magazine right there. I took some real basic measurements, and it looks like to me that the barrel actually has it's a 6-groove 1 in 10 right-hand twist. It's advertised differently in different locations. I think one place says 3, one place says 3.2, and another place says 3.3, but the barrel length is actually 3.26 inches. Now, the width of the handgun measures about 0.97 inches across the slide here and the grip down through here, and it's about 1.07 inches across the slide and the edge of the manual safety, which is right here. The overall length comes in at about 6.2 inches, front to back, and it's about 4.54 inches tall. I took the weight of the pistol empty, and it came in right at 19 ounces, just like advertised. And with 8 rounds of the Hornady Critical Defense 115 grain ammo, it was coming in at about 22.2 ounces. Also, the as far as some of the metallic parts on it, the barrel here is stainless, and this particular model right here has got a carbon steel slide, and you know, it's hard to tell, but you know, it says that on the inside, the for the grip frame, it has it's polymer with metallic inserts. Okay, some of the safety features that are on this particular handgun is you've got this the trigger safety right here, you know, which you know, clearly it has to be pressed before you can you know, fully translate the rest of the trigger movement. So you got a trigger safety right here. Internally, and it might be a little bit easier to see once it's disassembled, but you've got what they call as a firing pin block, which means that the firing pin is blocked from going forward until the trigger reaches a point back here in the travel to where the block is disengaged. So in the event that you drop the handgun, the firing pin block should prevent the handgun from discharging. You've also got a loaded indicator, loaded chamber indicator, which is on the top up here, and right now there's nothing that's in the chamber. And I'm going to go ahead and, for purposes of showing it, I'm going to go ahead and chamber around now. Put it back on safety. And so you can see here at the top up there, there's this loaded chamber indicator. It may be hard to see. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. You can see right there, it's got a little bit of red on both sides. Okay, you can see it up there. Now, it's also got a manual safety right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and unload the firearm. Alright, with the firearm unloaded, I can kind of continue here, but for the manual safety, you can see it's in the fire position right there, and there's a red dot that indicates that. It's also down for the fire position, or up for the safe position. And you know, in my opinion, I like that style of safety. Now, for me, you know, everybody has a different amount of hand strength and different hand size. But for me, you know, it's very easy to disengage that safety just with your thumb. So, you know, to me, I see no issue with that. It's a little bit harder to engage the safety, you know, and it's really not that hard for me because, again, I got some hand strength. But with this part of my thumb right there, I can just push it back up and to re-engage it. But overall, I'm pleased with that particular manual safety. Now, just a little bit more, there is no magazine disconnect. So with the magazine removed, okay, the firearm is unloaded. With the magazine removed, you know, you're able to actually, you know, pull the trigger and fire around. So there is no magazine disconnect. The Taurus PT709 also comes with something that Taurus calls their Taurus security system. And what it is, it's basically a lock that's part of the firearm. And you can see this this little area right here is where you would engage the lock, and the key ring, if you remember, had a lock tool here and a sight adjustment tool here on the other side. So if you wanted to engage that particular lock, you know, it says first of all you should remove your magazine. So we'll do that, and you know, unload the firearm by cycling the slide, and it's unloaded. All right, we made sure the chamber was empty, and then pull the trigger to decock the firing pin. All right, it's decocked. Then engage the Taurus security system by taking this key here and inserting it in there and turning it counterclockwise until it gets difficult to turn. Now, at that point, I can pull it out. And so what you're going to see here is with it engaged, the lock engaged. Now the safety's down at the moment, but I'm not able to pull the slide back even with the safety down. You I'm also not able to pull the trigger. And so, in that case right there, clearly the firearm is in a safe or locked condition. Now, to disengage it, then you just go through and reinsert the key here in there, and then turn it counterclockwise until it disengaged. And now you can see that you can actuate the slide and pull the trigger. Now, I like the sights that come on the handgun, and basically it's a white 3-dot sight system, and you can see, I mean, I'm a big fan of the white 3-dot system, so maybe I'm overly biased on that, but to me it gives a good sight picture. And the front sight post is fixed. It's not movable at all. But at the rear sight is actually adjustable. Now I'm going to go ahead and refer to the manual here, just because it's got some pretty good illustrations in there. And remember that on the key ring there's a little screwdriver here. You can see the tip of it right there, which can be used for adjusting the sights. And I'll go ahead and show real quick here. You can see that right here and there, here and here, those two locations are going to refer to, in the schematic, the locations that you're going to see right there and there. So the rear sight is adjustable for both elevation and for windage. And so when you're adjusting elevation, you're going to be making adjustments to this rear screw right here, and when you're adjusting windage, you're going to be making adjustments to the forward screw there. Now, if I were to criticize the sights just a little bit, I would say it would have been nice if this notch here right there was a little bit deeper, and these dots sat just a little bit higher in the sight configuration. And the reason I say that is when you get a good flat sight picture across here and those 3 dots aligned, it just seems like to me the front dot really sits a little bit low in the notch here. I don't know if you can tell looking at this view right here, but that was one of the first things when I noticed when I looked at the handgun. And is it a showstopper? No, I don't think so. But it's just I look at several different guns, and I'm just pointing out what I observe. So if I were to have changed something, so far that would be it. My final comment on the sights is that with the sight adjustment tool, the tool actually fit good. It's really just a little flat-bladed screwdriver. The tool fit good in the front adjustment screw, which is used for adjusting windage, but it really had a very, very poor fit in the rear adjustment screw, which I think that's either potentially because the tool is a little thick or the adjustment screw slot is a little thin. Okay, so I've got a magazine installed, and with the magazine installed and empty, after your last shot, the magazine follower is going to push up on the slide catch right here, and it's going to lock the slide open. Now, what I'm going to show here, there's actually a one round to the magazine, and the slide's locked open. And so this would be after you finished a magazine and you were switching to another new magazine. And the point here is that some firearms like Ruger, it's typically very, very difficult to push down here on the slide catch to basically drop your slide down. Now everybody's got different opinions about what's right and what's wrong. I think it's a very good practice to train yourself to be able to drop the slide without ever having to hit the slide catch right there. In the case of this particular firearm, it is possible to go through and push down with your thumb right there to go ahead and drop the slide. Again, different firearms are more difficult than other ones. If that's the style you prefer, then that's a very doable technique. Now, if you're going to try to do the same thing and drop it with an empty magazine, because your force that you're pushing down here also is trying to overcome the force on the magazine follower, it's more difficult to drop the slide in this configuration, but it is possible. You see there, but it takes a little bit more force to do that. Now, I haven't really talked about the trigger yet, and so this is the part here. I think this is kind of an interesting feature, is that this is a striker fired handgun, but it's both a single action, double action striker fired gun. And what I mean by that is that you can see here it's unloaded. So the striker, we'll say, is cocked. When you pull the trigger here, this part of the travel, you're really not doing anything until you get back here. And at that point right there, that's when you're going to have a little bit more travel, and the gun's going to fire. Now, what you'll notice is now that the striker has been released, the trigger position to where you start getting force is all the way up here forward. So in this case right here, for some reason the firearm didn't discharge, and for whatever reason, maybe you had the primer just didn't properly ignite, then you could go through and squeeze the trigger again to where it's like double action to re-cock and release the striker. So like in this mode right here, it's double action. But again, if it's already cocked like that, you can see the striker's already cocked. I've got free travel right here, and at this point it basically is single action. So after you shoot it, if it fires and the slide cycles, the striker is going to be cocked, so like that. So when you go forward to the reset position, reset is at that point right there. See? Go ahead and cock it, go forward. So it's got a relatively short reset and a very distinctive. You can hear the audible click at reset. More time. Like that. So anyway, that's kind of a unique feature. I measured the trigger pull in both single and double action modes, and it came in at about 6.2 pounds in the single action mode and 6.8 pounds in the double action mode. And this was based on an average of 10 pulls for each, using my my Lyman digital trigger pull gauge. Now, Taurus, the specifications say that the single action mode should come in between 5 and 7 pounds, and the double action mode should come in between 7 and 9 pounds. And clearly the pistol was in specification for both of those, and actually it was a little bit better for the double action mode. Now, if I were to characterize the trigger pull on this particular pistol, right now it is in the single action mode, and so as you pull the trigger back, it basically has very little resistance until right about there. And then I think what's happening is that the trigger bar or transfer bar, I'm not sure what it's actually called, but goes through and it starts pushing up the striker block on the inside, and you can feel that just a little bit until you get back here to this point right here, and that's where the single action resistance starts. All right, so from there you're coming back there to that point right there, and you got single action mode, which was I forget the number, 6 pounds something ounces, then as you pull it a little bit further, what you're going to get it to break. Okay. Now, if the slide cycled, then as you go forward with your finger, you can hear that reset point right there. And then a little more pressure, you can shoot your next shot. Slide cycles again, forward, resets, your next shot, like that. So it's really got a pretty short trigger travel in this single action mode. Now, if for some reason you fire a round, and after that round the gun, or that trigger pull, the gun doesn't fire and the slide doesn't actuate, what you're going to have is you're going to have a double action pull here. And so at that point you can squeeze the trigger again in double action to basically put a double strike on that particular round. You know, in both cases, the trigger feels good. You know, it's like I don't have any beef with it. You know, I've felt triggers that feel better, and I've felt triggers that feel worse. I think overall, you know, this the Taurus PT709 or 709 Slim has got a pretty good trigger pull. Now, a little on the grip itself, or the frame here. It's a polymer frame, and you know, you can see that there's a point here to where they say for potentially putting your finger there if you wanted to, when you're, you know, not moving it down to put your finger in the trigger area. There's a little dimple right here for your thumb, which actually feels pretty good. The grip itself, you know, I mean, to me it has the slick feel like the polymer you know, frames are going to have, and this is no different. It's got some texturing here on the side, and right here in the front you can see it's also got some additional texturing on those ribs that go around there, and the same on the back. So it gives it a little bit more texture, and you can feel the difference, you know, on the back here and on your fingers right there. So you can definitely feel the difference. I mean, overall, you know, I mean, it's got a pretty good feel to it. You know, you know, I'm not sure how much more I could say on it, but overall it's got a pretty good feel to it. Now, according to the specifications, it has a reversible magazine release, and I haven't done that yet to figure out how to reverse it, and I may do that in another video, a different part, which I'll talk about disassembly. But the handgun comes with the magazine release set up to be basically a right-hand release, to where the button extends here on the left side. You can see here on the right side, you know, it's kind of smooth, which goes all the way around there. You can't really do anything there, but here on the left side, there's a very, very small protrusion right there that you basically push to be able to drop the magazine. And you know, it's not, to me, in my mind, I don't believe it's going to be very easy to hit that magazine release unless you do it intentionally, because, you know, for me, you know, I can reach my thumb around there, you know, and if I try, I can actually push it, but I've got to be trying to push it, because that's really not the position of my thumb at all, you know, while I'm holding the handgun. Now, I can move the tip of my thumb down there and push it, but it's not really that easy to get to, which, you know, is a good thing. That's just going to ensure that hopefully you're not going to drop the magazine out when you draw your weapon and you actually need it. But it is very, in my opinion, it's very low profile, and maybe I'll try in another part to see if I can switch to the other side, just to see how difficult it is to do. Now, the pistol comes with one 7-round magazine, and you can see right here it says PT709, so I guess this is specific to this particular model. It's a 9mm made in Brazil, and it's got the markings here which go down the side of the magazine. to indicate the number of rounds. Go ahead and stick a couple of rounds here in the magazine just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So now, where the in the circle right there, you can see the magazine, you can see the particular round. Kind of keep going on down. I've got 2 in there right now. So you can see for the third one, it's not the yellow part. It's how far the casing goes down that indicates the number of rounds that are in the magazine. But so it'll take 7, so that gives the handgun a capacity of 7 plus 1 if you also put 1 in the chamber. Now you can see that the magazine's fully loaded, and again, it's a single stack. So again, that's 7 rounds, and in loading the magazine, clearly, the more rounds you get in there, the tougher it is to get them in. And the last 7th round, you got to push on it pretty good. But it's not too bad loading the magazine. To kind of wrap up this part of the review and give you my final thoughts, I think the gun has a great feel. I'm really happy with the feel of the gun. I think it's got a good trigger pull. I'm not disappointed with that at all. I think the overall build quality of the gun looks good. If I had to change one thing, I might tweak the sights a little bit, only because the alignment between the tops of the sights and the dots is just enough to kind of bug me. But I'm nitpicky sometimes. Other than that, I think for the value, or for the price I paid, the Taurus 709 Slim is a good value. Again, I got this one for $200, and the retail price is going to probably come in normally anywhere between $250 and we'll say $280. But I think for a single stack 9, I'm pretty happy with the value that you get from it. I haven't talked about accuracy and reliability. I'll really cover that in a different part of the review where I talk about range testing. But so far, I'm very, very pleased with the external and operational features on this handgun. If you like this review, please like or subscribe or both. And as always, thanks for watching.